Chat mic. There we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Down in the Valley podcast, brought to you by the beautiful Game Network, Roughneck Scarves, Icarus FC, and Natural Beauty Spa. We are starting Twitter Spaces today. We're gonna give it a try. I know there's a lot of people that are starting to use Twitter Spaces for talking about Toros. Or not Toros, but talking about soccer in general. It's become pretty popular in soccer Twitter to use Twitter Spaces now. So I was like, all right, let's give it a try and see how it goes. Anyways, continuing on, we're glad that you all are here. We appreciate all of your support as always, whether you're listening to us live or you're viewing the video archive after. It doesn't matter, as long as you're listening, as long as you're interacting with us, as long as you're learning about the Toros and wanting to keep up to date about what's going on, about all the opinions, then we're doing our job, So, but we're happy to be back for another episode. There's a lot to talk about today. I know there's going to be a Jacob rant coming up today. I would not doubt it. It was one of those games where it kind of deserves a Jacob rant. But without further ado, I want to say hi to our co-host, Jacob Young. Jacob, how are you doing?
Doing fine. Today is, of course, a big day. It's Wednesday, 9/8, I believe. But, of course, we got World Cup qualifiers going on and everything like that around the league and everything like that. Should be a great show. Looking forward to talking soccer. And, man, also NFL Eve, if for anybody who cares about National Football League. I only care about it for fantasy football, but that's besides the point.
There it is, everybody. I mean, we all know that most of America does it for the memes, to see how bad the Cowboys are going to be doing. But no, I just hope that the Patriots can get back to their winning ways. I'm not expecting them, Tom Brady, Belichick material yet.
I will bring out my Jets jersey right now, Edson.
We
play against each other on Sunday.
You would. But if this was a football podcast, then it'd be valid. But it's not. It is a RGV podcast. But anyway, I also want to give a huge shout out to all of our patrons. We've got Harry Austin, Jeff Strong, Santos Herrera, Mike Reyes, Eddie de la Garza, everyone that has supported us financially. Thank you all for tuning in and helping us, make this podcast grow as far as, different little things, little additions. We couldn't have done it without you all. Let's get right to it. So on Saturday, the Toros had what looked like an easy match. Well, not easy. A relatively simpler match going up against Loudoun United, who was coming into this match, and I believe still has the worst points in not only the Eastern Conference and the Atlantic Division, but throughout the whole USL Championship.
I think like 14 points or something, maybe even lower than that.
I think they were going into like maybe 12 or 13 points.
Exactly. Yeah, something like that.
It was
after this weekend, I think it was 14. I think.
Yes. So the Toros, we all know that they're going through a slump, right? Mm-hmm. They were going into this match. I believe they were going with 6, right? Or was it 6 or was it 5? Win the streak. I think it was maybe 5.
I've lost track.
At least you're not a Dynamo fan anymore.
Portland Timbers.
Yeah, and they're Portland Thorns too.
Exactly.
By the way, they are going to be getting the NWSL Cup final again, because apparently for the NWSL it's Portland or nothing. But that is besides the point. But anyway, let's get back to it. So, they were coming into this match with a 5 winless streak.
Yeah.
Since August 4th, which was when they defeated Real Monarchs at Zions Bank Stadium 3-0.
That's right. Yep.
Correct. And they could not win against El Paso. They could not win against Austin. They could not win against Phoenix Rising, etc., etc., etc. Now you're coming into this match going up against the Loudoun United that was struggling to even get a decent amount of points, you know. The last 5 matches that they played, they tied Charlotte Independent 0-0, August 6th. So we're taking the portion that we've gone winless.
Yeah.
We're looking at their stats. So August 6th, they tied 0-0 against Charlotte. They lost 1-0 against Charleston Battery.
Yep.
Somehow they defeated Indy 11 4-1. They lost against the Tampa Bay Rowdies 2-0. So, but in total, Loudoun United actually came into this match with 10 points, bro.
There we
10
go.
points. They came into this match with 10 points. So on paper, it looked like it was going to be a simpler match. And going into this match, the team played, their passing was a lot crisper, a lot faster. They had faster reactions. You know, one of the things that I criticized about the game against OKC Energy was the fact that the Toros seemed very sluggish. It seems like they held onto the ball too long. They could not react to the pressure that OKC Energy was creating against them. And in this game against Loudoun United, they looked faster, they looked crisper, they looked nimbler. They reacted quicker, you know, and they got themselves into the Loudoun United area multiple times. You know, the Toros even got the go-ahead goal kind of early in the game at the 14th minute. And even before that, they had some opportunities, you know, to on goal. I think the first, let me look at the chalkboard in the USL website for the shots, but I have a feeling that, you know, with Emilio Icaza being as productive as he was, you know, in this match. So the first one, the USL is saying that by the 9th minute, the Toros had a shot on target.
Yeah. No, they did. I remember that, watching it. But just going besides the lineup at the moment. Yeah, RGVFC looked dominant up until that 14th minute. Even past that 14th minute, they looked dominant, like it was going to be a cakewalk 3-4-0. No joke. Anything like that. Passing was crisp. They got into the... People are going to hate me for this pun, but they got into the lobster final third multiple times. And yeah, I just love to say that. And I mean, constantly we're just really pressuring Loudoun to make something happen. And they, well, as we know how RGVFC got that first goal, they pressured Loudoun into making a mistake. Sure enough, showing a penalty. And that was fantastic. That's what RGVFC needed to do. That's what they were able to do at the start of the season, playing against teams that hadn't necessarily known if RGVFC were going to be that good. Just making that other team not know what they were going to do and have those mistakes. It was fantastic to watch and very fun.
Now, I think one of the biggest pluses of this match was Emilio Icaza coming in from Austin Bold this week. And he was a player that you knew right away, like when his time at Austin, he had something special. He had something different. You know, he was a lot more vertical, a lot more participative with the ball. He was calling for the ball, trying to move into space. And you saw that a lot in this match against Loudoun. You know, he would also, you know, work defensively as well, but offensively, you saw him multiple times especially in the first half, making that run, you know, in between the defensive line. Sometimes his teammates didn't see him. Other times they were a little bit late, which ended up being with Ikaza being offsides. But he brought something different to the attack, and it drove Loudoun United insane. In fact, the goal, the penalty that Elvis Amo scored comes from Emilio Ikaza plotting the run, and I believe it was Elvis Amo who. Let me look at the replay. Yeah, it was Elvis Amo either that gives him the through ball inside the box, clear 1v1 opportunity. The defender had no choice. Timmy Mel had no choice but to bring him down. So it was those opportunities that Ikaza was looking to create. And that helped out a lot.
Yeah.
From then on, at that point, it really felt that the Toros were going to not only dominate this game, but I felt that it had the potential to become a blowout match.
Easily. Yeah, you said it best. RGVFC were really working in that first half, and I think I've talked about it multiple times from the teams that RGVFC have played, where you need that second goal when you take that go-ahead goal in the first half because your players are working about 200%, and we've seen that before with RGVFC. My best example of this whole thing was when RGVFC played Austin Bold one of the times, and what they did was they were passing it in the backfield, constantly trying to look for a shot up front. I know you thought that was a smart move from RGVFC, Edson, but I thought that they should have attacked more that way. That was, of course, a different game, but we're still talking about the same time. You get that go-ahead goal. You have that momentum towards you. The players are still fresh. What are you going to do? You're going to try and push through and try and get that second goal. They did. They were constantly trying to push through. They did not get the second goal, though, but they were constantly being able to get that possession back and really go ahead and get a couple more shots on target. Whether or not they were on target, they were very close to being on target, as a couple just skimmed over the goal. So very, very promising first half from RGVFC, just having those glimpses of, look, we're going to score that goal again and things like that. Yes, they scored 2 other goals, but we'll get into that in a bit.
Now, before we go on, I do want to mention the lineup. But before I do that, I want to say hi to everybody in the chat that has kind of been on right now. I want to say a huge shout out to Mike Reyes, obviously Stampede president, and we've also have Jorge Peña from Facebook. Jorge, welcome to Down in the Valley. I appreciate your support, man. And I would like to get y'all's thoughts. Everybody in the chat, everybody that's watching right now, whether it's on Facebook, on YouTube, or listening in on Twitter Spaces, let us know what your thoughts are about this match. What were your first impressions of the first 15 minutes or so of the game? Were you expecting this game to be a blowout against Loudoun United? I want to get that feedback from the fans. But let's take a look at the RGVFC starting 11 for this match. You had Tyler Derrick on goal. Then you had a line of 4 with Eric Pimentel, Adrian Dispe, Roberto Albuquerque, and Adrian Vera. So a line of 4. You have Adrian Vera as your left back, Dispe and Pimentel as your center backs, and Roberto Albuquerque as your right back, which I found surprising because Albuquerque had mostly been playing kind of like a left back or a center back at Spaces, but I didn't think he did a bad job. I think Albuquerque did a really good job in that position, but we'll get to the penalty later. And then you had your midfielders, which were Juan Carlos Azócar, James Murphy as that holding midfielder, Rodrigo Lopez, and Emilio Icasa, the newcomer from Austin Bold. So there's another line of 4. And then you had Elvis Amo and Christian Sorto. Now, the USL Championship has it as a 4-3-3, if I'm not mistaken, in this lineup with, let me see. Yeah. So they actually have, here's an interesting part. They actually have this as a 3-4-3, you know, with three center defenders, Eric Pimentel, Adrian Dispe, and Roberto Albuquerque, with Adrian Vera and Juan Carlos Azócar as wingbacks, then Rodrigo Lopez and James Murphy as holding midfielders, Emilio Icaza as a number 10, then two strikers with Christian Sorto and Elvis Amo. Now, to me, it seemed that, and you can confirm it with the average positions chart on the USL website for this particular game, Emilio Icaza was a lot more towards the right-hand side of the field than it was as a number 10. It felt more like you mentioned. It felt more like you mentioned. It was with James Murphy in the back, and then Rodrigo and Icaza in front of him, and then Sorto behind Elvis Amo, with Adrian Vera and Juan Carlos Azócar taking care of those wings. So that's how it looked. The Toros, in my eyes, the Toros looked like they were playing. Were you seeing anything different, Jacob?
From the TV perspective, I think you're pretty much right there. I couldn't have, that high angle as the booth, as of course why I was not there. I'll just give the quick explanation. Work tired me out from Thursday and Friday covering long football games, American football games to be exact. But yeah, besides that point, it looked about that same deal. And I mean, nothing more with that lineup. That's kind of what it looked like. And you could tell that RGV FC were trying to play a lot of long balls almost into the box sometimes too.
So moving forward, we mentioned that the Toros looked like they were dominating this game. They dominated the possession. They dominated the chances on goal. Then all of a sudden, I think it was like 10 minutes after we scored the goal. It was at the 20th minute. So about 5 minutes after we scored the goal, we get called a penalty as well against. This time it was Theodore Curipietro who took the shot, and it was impossible to save for Tyler Derrick. But my question to you, Jacob, was that foul that they called Roberto Albuquerque, was that a penalty?
I mean, I think it was. I honestly, I think it was. And again, it could have been avoided. I've said this a couple of times. I think more, I said it last season, is that all penalties can be avoided, definitely. And even at that chance when I saw the replay, yes, you're a referee. You have to make a split-second decision for that, but that was definitely a penalty. He did make contact. It was inside the box. It was enough to give it a penalty. And so, oh well, is what I'd say. But yeah, unlucky.
So somebody is asking on the chat, where pretty much they're saying Kuzain with a thinking emoji. Now, Juan Kuzain was not on the bench in this match. You feel like maybe, kind of making a parenthesis here, do you feel like maybe Juan Kuzain has fallen out of Wilmer Cabrera's what's it called, the squat depth chart?
Well, of course, he has a look at practice, as of course us fans and pundits don't. And what has he been doing constantly that's also kind of been frustrating you and I, Edson? He's been a bit too aggressive when he comes onto the pitch. So he's also starting to accumulate a couple of yellow cards. Yes, he's not the most one. We looked at it last week. He's not the one that has the number one number of those yellow cards, but this whole team basically is very aggressive. So it's one of those things where he is going to be able to recharge and refocus. That I think that's a good style from Wilmer Cabrera. Any coach that does this, where if they sit you down, they don't even sit you down on the bench. They sit you down in the stands for at least a game or two. Then you can kind of reset and say, okay, I need to focus more and get back to that form that I was at the start of the season, and why Wilmer Cabrera made me where I was, or put me on the squad of where I was, whether or not starting 11 or on the bench. So yeah, that's my take on it. Definitely is where, yes, he probably has fallen off of where Wilmer Cabrera's squad, but that's just going to help him basically say focus up. Hopefully, it will say, "Oh crap, I need to wake up and get better again, and not necessarily foul too much." Yes, of course, a couple of those
But that's the
fouls.
problem. That this is the
Yeah,
problem, and this is where I differ with you, because you mentioned, oh, he's aggressive. Okay, he's aggressive, but in the wrong way.
yeah,
He's aggressive fouling, but in everything else, in trying to make an impact in the match, I don't see him. I don't see him.
yes,
Okay, that's a
yes,
personal opinion of mine, and I agree. I feel like you might have a similar opinion. He
yes,
is
yes. No,
not does
we're
not
agreeing.
make he does not make the impact that that position needs, because sure, he has some games where he'll create an awesome shot that goes close by,
Mhm.
or when he scored against who was it? I think it was in New Mexico. No, San Diego Loyal, where he created the pressure and he stole the ball inside the box
Mhm.
and scored. But other than that, the times that I've seen Wan Kuzain, he really hasn't made a big enough impact
Yeah,
in this game. It almost feels like he's not there in the match, you know? So I know the Wan Kuzain's got potential. I was so hyped up to him to have him. Some things might be going on with him, you know, personally, or maybe he just needs a lot more confidence somehow. The fact that he's getting benched repeatedly doesn't help confidence at all. And so what I think happens when he gets brought into the match is that he is thinking he wants to prove to Wilmer Cabrera that he should be the starter, but that all of that eagerness, all of he channels it the wrong way. So he kind of like he goes in a little bit too hard on those plays, because he's not doing it intentionally to hurt the
of
player.
course.
He's trying to get that ball. He's trying to make the steals. He's trying, you know, because he wants to show Wilmer Cabrera that he should be the starter.
Yeah.
But it backfires against him. He does that, kind of hurts his it hurts his confidence, and he kind of like dims down as the game progresses. And so Wilmer's like, you know what? I need to have somebody that'll bring in a bigger impact, especially right now where the Toros need a win. We are at 6 winless streak right now, and the Toros need a win, and we need a player that can impact. And right now, that player is Emilio Icaza. Sure, it's only one game, but if you have a player like that can, it's like 1 week in the match, 1 week of the team, and he's already creating a huge impact for this team and creating offense, you're gonna have to keep him there. So Wan Kuzain, he's gonna have a much harder time to kind of break out of being up in the stands or on the bench. But I know he has talent. I've seen that. I've seen the esos destellos, like they say in Spanish, where he shows where he shows that talent. Yeah. But he needs to be a lot more consistent, and he needs to improve his confidence. How he needs to do that, I don't know. I'm not in practices. That's Wilmer Cabrera. I've never been a soccer player, a professional soccer player, so I can't tell you exactly why. But Wan Kuzain, to finish off this talk, Wan Kuzain needs to get his confidence back, get himself a little bit more level-headed when he does get minutes at the match, so he can make the correct decisions and on time and avoid getting all of these yellow cards. Because if you look at the statistic on how many minutes he's played and the amount of cards that he has, I think when you take that aspect, that is like he's if not the highest, the highest minutes per cards ratio in this team. So I'm not bashing Wank Hussein. I may have been a little bit more bashier in previous episodes, but I do understand that this is a game of confidence and pretty much moments.
Yeah.
And right now, it's not Wank Hussein's moments, and Wilmer Cabrera needs to have his best starting 11 out on the pitch. And so that's where it is. I would love to see Wank Hussein back again, in that level that he showed when he was in Sporting Kansas City, right? But at this point, if there's others that are performing better than him overall and more consistently, those are the players that Wilmer Cabrera is going to give priority to get those starting minutes. And I know that Wank Hussein has a lot of fans out there in the world, but he has to show it on the practice field. He has to show it on the pitch. And the only one that knows exactly what's going on in those places is Wilmer Cabrera. And if Wilmer Cabrera deems it that he is not at that level to be the starter, then so be it. But it all falls on the shoulders of Wank Hussein. But anyway, moving on with the topic that we were talking about. So I honestly think that there was a little bit of contact in that penalty by Roberto Albuquerque, because it seems like Roberto was kind of reaching towards the player's jersey. However, I do think that the player kind of exaggerated in the fall, which turned the attention from the central referee, because remember, this is a corner kick we're talking about. And he's seeing this right in front of him. He sees the Loudoun player fall down with Roberto Albuquerque's hand outstretched on the other player. And so whether he would exaggerate on the fall or not, that is a pen. A soft pen, but a penalty nonetheless. And I think that is all, and Wilmer Cabrera mentioned it in the post-game conference. It's a lack of what's the word I'm looking for? It is a lack of concentration that the defense has, not only in this game, and we've talked about it in previous games as well. One little mistake where whether they cause a foul at a bad spot, or they leave someone unmarked, but it's consistently happening with the Toros where they make one little mistake and cost them with a goal against or a yellow, whatever, but it costs them.
Yep.
And that's how Loudoun United was able to score that equalizer. Because other than that, there really were not many dangerous chances by Loudoun United.
Yeah.
Toros did have a lot. You look at the count, and I'm not talking about the count from Sesame Street, but if you look at the count of shots, 27 shots, 8 on target. Number one, 8 shots on target. That is a lot. That is a lot more than we've been accustomed to seeing the Toros. But what's the problem? There were 27 shots, which means you only had a 29.6 shooting accuracy. 27 shots, 8 shots on target, 9 blocked shots. Okay, I'll give credit to the defense and the keepers on that one. So I'm not going to count against them. So you're talking about 17, so 10 shots that were off target by the Toros. But here's the worst part, Jacob. The Toros were dominating. The Toros were stealing balls from Loudoun United off of the transition from defense to attack by Loudoun. There were multiple opportunities where there were 3v2 or 3v1. But that pass to the teammate was just not there. It was just so nerve-wracking. I was about to pull my hair out there in the press box because of how bad their passes were when you had a clear man advantage in that particular area to finish. There was one where Elvis Amo had two other teammates with him and only one defender. Guess where that ball went?
So the defender.
Exactly. It felt like that match between Mexico and Haiti in those Olympic qualifiers back in 2005 or so. It was with Hugo Sanchez. And if you're a Mexican fan and you're not watching the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly how it felt, because they had many clear opportunities to score a second, and they didn't. Now, they did score two other goals.
Yep.
Both of them were called offsides. Correctly called offsides. Let's be honest. To me, both goals were correctly called offside.
One was called later than the other, though. If it really did seem like one was called later than the other. Let's be real. One, I think, was about to be called a goal, and the ref looked up at the big screen.
No.
That's what what it looked like from the broadcast perspective. Yes, it did.
No. So here's what happened.
He had raised up his hand, but that was it.
No, but here's what happened. Referee was going to call a goal. He notices that his linesman didn't run towards the center. So if you guys don't know, whenever a goal is called and the linesman agrees that there's no foul, that there's no offside,
he does run back to the center. Yes.
He runs towards the center.
Yeah.
Referee is going to it calls the goal, right? Everybody's celebrating with Dispe, who got hurt in that play, whatever. Referee, as he's walking back towards center, he notices that his linesman didn't run towards the middle. And he goes to talk to his linesman. And there the linesman tells him, oh, this was offside. There was an offside on the play. They were dialoguing for a little bit. And then that's when the referee calls the offside and nullifies the goal. And this is the one on Adrian Dispe in the first half. The second one, also a clear offsides. At the moment where the shot was taken, Frank Lopez was just a little bit offside, but just enough to be called. Now, as a Toros fan, I wish those offsides were not called, because I think the Toros deserved being with the win. But just like we criticized pro referees in other shows, I think at least in these particular calls, they were pretty much on point.
What I saw in the second goal, let me just put my perspective out there, and why I also thought this could have potentially been a goal, is because I know exactly what you're talking about and why they technically called it offside, but it did not seem like he was impeding the view at all. And I think that's really where it comes down to why they called it offside on the second goal. It didn't seem like he impeded the view. Of course, the rebound, that's a different story, but the first shot, it didn't really seem like he did impede the view much at all.
But it's not about impeding the view. It was the fact that the shot was taken, he was offside, and on the rebound by the goalkeeper, Frank Lopez hits the ball inside the net. So there, he's taking advantage of his offside position, and that's why they called it. Yeah. It wasn't a matter of whether he impeded the view or not. Impeding the view would take into effect if, let's say, Torto takes the shot, and it's going towards the direction of where Frank Lopez is. He jumps to avoid getting touched, but Frank Lopez and him being there in that position impedes the view of the goalkeeper. That's where they call offside, because impeding the view, because indirectly he's still participating in the play. In this case, he's participating directly in the play, grabbing the rebound, shooting it towards the net. And yes, it was, to me, both, like I said, both were offsides.
Yeah, that is fair. I knew on the rebound that was a different story, but at first, if that goes in, you don't call that offside. If that goes in. Of course, it's a big if, because it ended up being called back offside. And yes, that is very frustrating. We go back to it. RGVFC had, check that, 6 more opportunities after that while we take one away. So 5 more opportunities after that, because of course we're talking about a penalty made. So it was a struggle. We talk about it, 28 shots, and you only have 8 on target, 2 being goals that get called back, and 1 being a goal from a penalty. It's so frustrating. It, and going also back, Edson, to the
Mhm.
passes. I feel like we've been talking about that all season long. Ever since that first game, even at home, when RGVFC were able to win their first ever home opener. Well, I think that was the first thing that we kind of talked about on episode 1 of 2021 for, season for the season, basically. It just feels like that has not been improved. And it seems like and to me, yes, crosses have gotten a little bit better, but that was not a big issue this game. It was more about those passes that ruined opportunities, ruined attacking opportunities. You take advantage of your opportunities. RGVFC could not do that. And when they did, they happen to be offside. So it's one of those situations where they have to go back to the drawing board. Yes, I think this lineup works, but they have to go back to square one and learn the fundamentals of soccer, because apparently some of them don't know how to freaking pass a ball to the correct jersey. It's not like they were blind, because one was a white jersey and one was a black jersey, and they
Red.
passed it to a black jersey.
Red.
Red jersey, my bad. I'm thinking of the Canada game, but still, that's the same deal.
The point still stands. So I don't know, man. It's like we keep on talking about this, right? And it's not us being overly picky or overly negative, because even Wilmer Cabreras has talked about it on the post-game press conferences. He knows it. And the fact that he acknowledges it, and it's the same thing we've been talking about, I think it shows that we're on the right path when it comes to seeing what this game lacked for this team. We're not as analytical as John Morrissey from USL Tactics. That guy is on another level. My respects to him. Woo! If you guys haven't followed him on Twitter at USL Tactics, you'll need to do so now, because the level of analysis, of tactical breakdown, of runs, blah blah blah, is phenomenal. He's the only one in the all of USL Twitter to do that. I wish I was him. So John Morrissey, thank you for all that you do. I want to bring him on the show once again. He was during preseason. He was on the show. I'd love to have him again to kind of discuss a little bit about what RGVFC has been doing in this season, and if our expectations that we had that episode in preseason kind of lived up to it, or maybe even exceeded, or kind of fallen. You never know, right? So this is what Wilmer Cabrera said in post-game press conferences. Source: I was there. Plus, I have the written transcript from the team. So anyway, so he says, it's disappointing, the draw, because we had possession, we had the ball, we administered the ball very well, and we had a lot of chances. We had 25 shots, but the difference is making it simple and more accurate. By the way, that's another thing that I noticed from this game. There were a lot of multiple times where the Toros players wanted to make a cheeky pass. You know, they wanted to make, I'm not saying like Rabona style, but it's like overly complicated decisions for what you really needed, right? Instead of making just a simple pass or a simple cross, they tried to dribble past 2 or 3 players when maybe dribbling past one should have sufficed, right? I think there was one particular play, I'm not sure, I think it was with Sorto or even Emilio Icaza, where he gets the ball inside the box and he tries to dribble 2 players instead of shooting after dribbling the first one. And after the first one, I feel like he had a clear shot towards the goal, but he wanted to dribble another one and then another one. He ended up losing the ball, right? That's the kind of complicating things that Wilmer Cabrera is talking about. He says, we complicated ourselves. The easiest pass or the simple pass to the clear guy. We didn't do it, and then we tried to force the shots and we couldn't capitalize. That's where the 9 block shots come from. After the PK, maybe in a counterattack, we gave up 2 options for them in counterattacks because we were trying to score. Throughout the whole game, we were solid. We were in complete control of the game, but that's the game, and we have to continue working. Now, we have the tough game against Colorado Springs Switchbacks, but we were playing well, so that is important to continue that route. What do you think, Jacob?
I mean, yes, for his game analytics about that, definitely correct on that whole thing. They do have to fix a lot of stuff and fast playing against Colorado Springs Switchbacks. What happened when we played the Switchbacks not long ago here at home? Got a stomping of 5-3. It's a tough way of looking. Of course, I know we'll get into it later about the following game, but I don't know what to expect from RGVFC on the road in Colorado Springs, in the thinner mountain air, and all of that stuff. Just it's tough to see a win, is what I'm saying. And it's as simple as RGVFC need to do a way better job of passing and a way better job of making sure that they don't make key mistakes inside the box, lapse of judgment, which, are little mental errors that happen to lead into a goal for Colorado Springs or a penalty for Colorado Springs.
Guys, I don't want to scare you, but Austin Bold. Yeah, that Austin Bold that is a zombie right now. That just took out part of their just took out part of their bleachers. That is only getting maybe 500 people at the match. Wow. That Austin Bold that sold us Ikaza, that sold us 2 of their best offensive players. Oh my the one gosh. That is probably moving to Fort Worth. The one that doesn't have now they have a GM with Marcelo Serrano, but that didn't have a GM for a long time. Yeah. That don't even put any effort in the marketing or into selling tickets. That Austin Bold is 1 point behind us. Yeah. At this moment. They just defeated San Antonio FC. Yep.
Is it that stupid?
These matches against Colorado Springs Switchbacks, the one in Colorado, and then the one here next weekend. Well, not this weekend, but the following weekend. It's very imperative that we get wins because Austin Bold, and then you have right behind them New Mexico United. So a loss by the Toros and a win by Austin and New Mexico United, that's going to put us in 6th place.
6th place. Okay, so we're already in. Okay.
Out of the playoffs. Yeah. And yes, there's still a lot of USL Championship to go. The Mountain Division is pretty tight. And a good streak can put you back in 2nd place. But that's the problem. The Toros need to get that good streak. They need to win. They need to score goals. They need to limit the amount of mistakes that they make defensively. And right now, they're not doing that. Nope. And that's what's costing them points. Because it just blows my mind. And maybe I'm oversimplifying the game of soccer. But it blows my mind that the Toros at home, with probably their best starting 11, could not get a win. Yep. Over Loudoun United. Yep. It just blows my mind. And this isn't about coach. Nope. Maybe, might be a little bit. But this is mostly on the players. This is unacceptable. And I know there are players that played their hearts out. I'm not saying they didn't play their hearts out. They played their hearts out. But when it comes to the fundamentals, a lot of them at the time where they need to shine, they're not shining. And we back these players so much. We back this team so much. And I know that these guys can come out of the rut.
Yep.
But at this point, it's all on them. We as fans can only do so much. We as podcasters can only do so much. Coach Cabrera can only do so much and tell them what to do in practice. But they don't put it into effect on the pitch where it matters, then it doesn't really matter. As the great Jerson Echeverry once said, no goals, no glory. We want glory, we need goals. And at this point, we definitely need the goals.
Yep.
Because like I said a couple of weeks earlier, the fact that this Toros exceeded our expectations, being for almost half a season, first place in the Mountain Division. Then all of a sudden finding yourself in 5th or 6th out of the playoffs, that's going to hurt a lot more than the fact that where we expected, the Toros weren't going to make it to the playoffs. We understand this is a transition year, right? But this team has showed that they're a lot more than just a transition team. That this team can, with the players that we have, we can make it to the playoffs. But the key is getting out of this rut. Like I said, it's all on the players to put their minds in the game and do so. Win, lose, or draw, we're supporting the team. Now we're pointing out the mistakes on the show or on social media. We are, right? It's our job. It's our job to do so. As long as we're not offensive or anything of the matter, right? But that doesn't mean just because we're pointing out mistakes or overly negative on Twitter, doesn't mean we're not supporting this team.
Yep.
So, just wanted to put it out there. But anyway, I also did want to point out the play by James Murphy. I pointed it out on Twitter.
Mr. NFT.
Yeah, pretty much. That hustle he made in the 91st minute to block that counterattacking opportunity by Loudoun United, considering that he was in Loudoun United's 18-yard box when the play began. And he hustled back to help out Adrian Vera. Because let's be honest, had James Murphy not been there, had he given up or something, that is the goal, because there was 3 players, and that other Loudoun United player had already left Adrian Vera behind.
Yep.
So you gotta love that hustle by this team, and that's what gives me hope that this team never gives up, never stops the fight. But a lot of time, but in the USL, you need more than that, right? The difference between winning or losing is not just how much fight you can bring in, but how much you show the talent that you have to score the goals or not let yourself get scored on. But yeah, that was pretty much it when it came to the Loudoun United game.
Yeah.
So now we're looking forward to Colorado Springs Switchbacks on Saturday. Right? It's on Saturday?
Yeah, it should be on Saturday.
Yeah. And so, and that's going to, like Jacob mentioned, that is going to be up in the elevation with thinner air. And so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how the Toros deal with that. Because there were times where they look lost, where the Toros, I'm talking about previous years, where the Toros would go and they would shoot, they would pass the ball with the same power as they were playing here in the Rio Grande Valley. And 9 times out of 10, they overshot their teammates, right? Because you have to adapt that the ball has less air resistance, so you need less power to make it travel as equal distance as you would here in the Rio Grande Valley, right? Yep. So, Jacob, what are you expecting from this match?
Well, it's going to be a very difficult matchup in general. It's tough to say what I'm expecting. I mean, because first off, RGVSC, hopefully they were able to really dig deep this week in practice. We're talking probably Tuesday they started infield practice again, meaning, of course, you got Sunday as a rest day, to Monday as looking at film day, and then Tuesday going back out and trying to fix those mistakes. Wednesday doing a bit of interviews, doing that same deal. Thursday doing a little bit of walkthroughs more, and then back to film. And Friday traveling to Colorado. So it's just one of those situations where I do honestly, considering how well Colorado Springs played against RGVFC on the road, that's kind of what I'm expecting. RGVFC to really struggle on the road against Colorado Springs, maybe be able to eke out a tie, but they're going to have to dig deep and have all hands on deck. I really do expect it to be a very difficult game for RGVFC, even though even with our new signees that we got, yes, hint hint, we actually got some newer players, which is pretty cool to see that they were still listening and got some almost free transfers. Yeah, that's I just hopefully it's going to be different, but honestly, we want the 3 points. We kind of need the 3 points, but I expect us maybe to eke out one. And that'll be a big win in my book on the road in Colorado.
So here's the record between all away matches between RGVSC and Colorado Switchbacks. 2 wins for the Toros, 1 win for Colorado Springs Switchbacks, and 2 draws. So in 16 and 17, that's when the Toros would won. And then in 2018, a 2-1 loss, and then a 1-1 draw, and then 2019, 3-3 draw at Whitener Field, at the old Whitener Field. We have this upcoming matchup on the 12th away, and then we've got another one on the 17th of October that's also going to be at Whitener Field. Plus, we also need to know that so they're playing this week against Colorado in Colorado, and then they're playing next week against Colorado, but here at HB Park. Interesting scheduling, don't you think? But I honestly, Colorado Springs did recently lose, if I'm not mistaken. They lost, or actually, they're playing right now against Real Monarchs. They are at home, and they are 0-0 at the moment, 44th minute. They lost against New Mexico United last Saturday. I think it's doable, but I don't think it's likely considering the circumstances.
Yep.
The optimist in me sees a draw, 2-2 draw. But the pessimist doesn't see. I don't think there will be a 5 goals by Colorado Springs, and even that I think it was like a footballing accident. Like, it was one of the things that happened, but it really didn't reflect what was actually going on in the match. So I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw. That is my prediction. Guys in the chat, give your prediction. So my dad says those 2 points we lost this weekend are to be needed at the end. And then Mike says we get the upset this weekend, 3-2. Que Dios te oiga, Mike, because we really need those points.
Yep.
Bold prediction.
Bold prediction. Let's see here. It's about, I'm going to give this bold prediction. We're going to end up having ourselves a water break at that game because the temperatures, what it shows right now in Colorado, are actually kind of pretty hot. But I think it's going to actually be opposite and get even hotter to where in the evening it's going to be 80 plus, which means water break. That's one of them. And of course, at that point, it's going to be a crazy 3-3 game. And that's only in the first half. Second half, it's going to ending 6-5. RTVFC will get the win, and it will be because of a last penalty that sends off a major player for Colorado Springs Switchbacks, which will be an effective result considering that we play against them the following week with their best star out due to that red card.
That's also that also reminds me, they did lose a forward against New Mexico United for a red card for throwing the ball at a ball boy.
Oh, only that. He's not going to get kicked off his team like he should have. That's a crazy rant that I'd like to get into right now. Yeah, you don't do that. You threw it directly in his freaking face. You moron. You idiot. Guess what? You should be canceled by now. You shouldn't have a job as a soccer player if you can't handle your own freaking, I don't know, blood pressure as a freaking sports athlete. You're still in a job. You moron. You abused a child. Shame on you, and you should be working a desk job, you moron.
Hey, what's wrong with the desk job?
Oh, nothing's wrong with it. I'm just saying if he can't handle his actions playing a game, then he shouldn't be allowed to play a game, and he should have a desk job where most likely you might get a little mad at one of your teammates, but that's about it.
But yeah, so as he mentioned, the Colorado Springs Switchbacks will be without, let me grab that information for you, but he is one of their strikers. Let me go back to that match so I can get that for you. So Mickey and Galena, striker for, or yeah, well, he's not a striker, but a winger for Colorado Springs Switchbacks, got the red card for throwing the ball at the ball boy. He's going to be out 2 matches. So today's against Real Monarchs, and then also the first game against the Toros. He's going to be out for that red card plus a fine. I think it was like $50,000 or something. Or maybe I'm thinking of some another. Oh, I was thinking about Kyle Busch getting fined $50,000 by NASCAR. What did the cones do to you, Kyle Busch? That's why everybody hates you. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's for a NASCAR podcast. But anyway, guys, final thoughts, Jacob, before we wrap up.
Final thoughts. It's going to be a tough one this Saturday for RGVFC. It's going to be very interesting to see if RGVFC are going to be able to put up a game first off in Colorado. That's just a tough place to play in itself because of the elevation change, considering that everything around RGV is flat. The closest thing that we have to a hill is probably the overpass in South McAllen. So yeah, it's just going to be a tough game, and hopefully they can get it done. But if anything, 1 point will be a win because we get to play them again at home. And I think that RGVFC will be able to make that up with getting 4 points and finally being back on their winning ways.
I thought you were going to say that the biggest hill that we have in the Rio Grande Valley is the hill that the anti-vaxxers are willing to die on.
It's not as bad down here. That group gets smaller and smaller almost every week is what it looks like. I don't know. I haven't been near Hollywood movie theater recently, but the last time that I saw it was pretty small. Still kind of want to throw water balloons at them when I pass by. No joke.
You and me both, Jacob. You and me both. But guys, it's gonna be it for this week. We thank you all for your support. We thank you all for tuning in. Mike did mention his bold prediction is going to be 2-2. He says, if anything, I will take 1 point. I mean, it's better than nothing, but we're also kind of on the lookout to see what happens with Bold and with New Mexico United. But things are looking bleak right now, and as I mentioned, the players have the power to change this, and that's what we hope to get in the future. Thank you to the Beautiful Game Network. Thank you to Icarus FC, Roughneck Scarves, and of course, Natural Beauty Spa. Huge shout out to all of our patrons. Thank you for your financial support. We appreciate it. I thank everybody who tuned in today, whether it was on Facebook, Twitter Spaces, and of course, here on YouTube and Facebook Live. Appreciate all of you for tuning in. Be sure, if you liked this video, be sure to give it a like. sure to share it with your friends. Let them know that this podcast is here to talk all about the Toros. I know participation's kind of been a little bit down, but there's a lot of soccer in the weekdays recently with these World Cup qualifiers, and with Mexico on, it's hard to compete against them. But guys, thank you so much. I have to prepare myself. I have to go and record with the guys from the Striker Texas for the Striker Tejas podcast right now at 9 o'clock. But we'll see each other next week, Wednesday at 8 p.m. for another episode of Down in the Valley. And hopefully we can get a win this Saturday against Colorado Springs Switchbacks. Take care, everybody, and we'll see y'all on the next one.